So I saw Matt.
Hi, I'm here.
There
I was
you
just
go.
having phone problems.
All good. All good. Okay. We got everyone and we are now streaming. Great. Awesome. Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening for the Upper Darby Committee meeting for June 2nd, 2021. At this point in time, can everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will also have a moment of silence. And Mayor Keffer has the flag in her screen. So please make sure you turn on your mics so we all get to hear everyone. All right, there we go. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag.
of the United
United
States
States of America.
and to the republic for
Republic.
which it stands,
And
One
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty
and justice for all.
justice for all.
And remain standing for a moment of silence for all the fallen military in honor of Memorial Day, as well as for Kenneth Sawyer, brother of Chris McSween, director of LNI. Thank you. Officially open. Council Secretary Phillips, can you give us a roll call?
Yes. Councilor Tunis,
Present.
Councilor Phillips is here. Councilor Silva.
Present.
I'm sorry. Councilor Blackwell here. Councilor Gwynn.
Present.
Councilor Burke.
Here.
Councilor Sadiq.
Present.
Councilor Faralia. Councilor Barnett.
Present.
Councilor Wagner.
Here.
And
Here.
Council President Wentz.
Here. Great. And then
All
also
accounted for.
awesome. And then also to acknowledge, we have Mayor Keffer with us, CAO Rangione, listeners, Kenny Richardson, Eliza Moeller, and Alexis and Miss Dobbins running tech for us. So thank you all for being here. So next up, we have rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby Township Council and residents will maintain professional respect for each other. Council encourages free speech, however, civility is required, which would prohibit threats, profanity, scandalous, impertinent, and redundant comment, or any comment the discernible purpose of which is to disrupt or prevent the conduct of business of the meeting. So next up, we have public forum. Ms. Dobbins, do we have anyone lined up for public forum?
Council President Wentz, we did have 3 residents register. However, none of them appear to be present.
Okay. So seeing no one present for public forum is now closed. Okay. Great. So next up, we have the Honorable Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer. You're muted.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of updates for this evening. A friendly reminder about weekly yard waste collection. Yard waste collection is collected the same day that your single stream recycling is collected. And yard waste is defined as leaves, garden residues, shrubbery, and tree trimmings that are 4 inches or less in diameter and less than 3 feet long, and similar material. Please note that grass clippings are not considered yard waste. Please do not use plastic bags to recycle yard waste or single stream recycling. Instead, place it in biodegradable paper bags, which are available at our local hardware stores, Burr Hill on Vermont Road and the True Value on Marshall Road, or place the yard waste loosely in trash cans without bags and put them out with irregular single stream recycling. This upcoming Monday, June 7th, our sanitation crews will be collecting trash twice a week. Trash in areas 1 and 2 will be collected on Tuesdays and Fridays. Trash in areas 3, 4, and 6 will be collected on Mondays and Thursdays. Additional details about the revised schedule, including recycling pickup information, can be found on the township website at upperdarby.org/trash. Residents are also welcome to call the mayor's request line at 610-734-7625 with any questions. We are also hiring seasonal employees to supplement our regular sanitation crews. If you or anyone you know is looking for a summer job making as much as $15 per hour with the opportunity to earn a full-time job in the future, please have them apply as soon as possible through our website, upperdarby.org. On that homepage, scroll down and look for employment opportunities. Seasonal jobs as well as other jobs are listed there. Registration for the township's youth and tot lot programs is ongoing until Friday, June 11th, which is about a week and a half from today. The cost is still only $20 per child. We are very grateful to the Lansdowne YMCA for stepping in to ensure that these programs are able to happen this summer. The Y is also hiring program staff members. Applications are available at cyedc.org/employment, or you can call 610-557-9622, extension number 1, to request a paper copy. Special consideration will be given to individuals who have worked for the township summer recreation program in previous years if they would like to apply again. And this Saturday, Habitat for Humanity is hosting a Rock the Block event in Upper Darby. The targeted areas are the 200 block of Chapman Avenue and also the municipal parking lot on the 700 block of Long Lane. I'm so very grateful that Habitat has chosen Upper Darby as a focused municipality. This is our inaugural Habitat Rock the Block event, and we are looking for community members to participate as volunteers. To sign up, please visit Habitat Montdelco, so that's MONTDELCO /Rock the Block, or call 610-278-7710. If you'd just like to show up on Saturday, that would be great. As a member of the Upper Darby team, please arrive at the municipal lot at the intersection of Long Lane and Clinton Road no later than 8:15 a.m. this Saturday. Once you get there, members of the Habitat staff will check you in, and we will gather together for opening remarks. I'm going. I'm very excited about this. So anybody that can participate, any of the council members, that would be great. And last, but certainly not least, it is my honor to issue a proclamation this evening in recognition of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month. Whereas Pride Month is a celebration of the LGBTQ+ community and born out of the gay rights movement that started in the 1940s and reached a pivotal moment at the Stonewall Inn in June of 1969, when a group of individuals who were being mistreated because of their gender and sexual identifications stood up for what they believed in. And whereas Pride Month is a time to reflect on the trials that the LGBTQ+ community has endured and to rejoice in the triumphs of the individuals who have bravely fought and continue to fight for full equality. And whereas, despite all the progress that has been made in recent years regarding LGBTQ+ rights, we acknowledge that there are many states, including ours, in which LGBTQ+ individuals still lack protections for fundamental rights and dignity in hospitals, schools, workplace, public accommodations, and other spaces. We are committed to standing in solidarity with the LGBTQ+ Americans in their ongoing struggle against discrimination and injustice. And whereas LGBTQ+ individuals, especially children and adolescents, often face bullying and harassment in educational settings and are at a disproportionate risk of self-harm and death by suicide. It is imperative that families, school systems, mental health care providers, and the community at large work together to end the social stigma and bullying that can traumatize children and adolescents who identify as LGBTQ+. And whereas Upper Darby Township has a diverse community that includes a proud contingent of LGBTQ+ individuals and allies, which is fostered in part by organizations such as Upper Darby Pride and UDTJ, among others. Now, therefore, I, Barbara Ann Keffer, Mayor of Upper Darby, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2021 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month in Upper Darby Township. And I encourage my fellow residents to recognize and participate in this observance. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that proclamation. And thank you for flying the pride flag over the township building. That's awesome. Okay, so next up is President of Council. I just wanted to thank Archer Epler, VFW, and American Legion Post 979, American Legion Post 214, or Upper Darby American Legion Post 214, and the Upper Darby Marine Corps League for honoring our fallen military over the weekend, and for putting flags on all the graves in our area, and for theirs, and including us in their ceremonies. And then also I just wanted to, I had not realized before, but our the Upper Darby Recreation Department provides summer season ticket sales program. So if you are going to the Adventure Aquarium, for example, if you buy tickets at the gate, one set of tickets could be $39.31, but if you buy them through the Upper Darby Rec Department, the price is $28. So they have special ticket sales for the Adventure Aquarium in Camden, the Baltimore Aquarium, Nobles Amusement Park, Moray's Pier in Wildwood, and some other places. And Sesame Place is on here, Splash Zone, and there's some others. So please check out Upper Darby Recreation. You can call them at 610-789-3656. All sales are final and they do not reimburse. So, but there are some solid savings through the township to buy tickets to these different locations for summer fun. So just wanted to let everyone know that that is an option. I never knew that before, and then I saw it at the township building, so I definitely wanted to share it with you. And please take part. There's a lot of events going on this month between Pride Fest, the Rock the Block. I believe Upper Darby Trails has a hike going on Saturday. Juneteenth is happening, so there are events happening throughout the township and the county to honor Juneteenth. So there are a whole lot of things happening in the month of June. So please be safe when you go to the events, and but enjoy yourself at the same time. So thank you all very much. and now we're getting into committee reports. Public Safety Committee, co-chairs Blackwell and Burke, members Tunis Jr. and Silva. Who wants to take the lead? Councilman Burke?
I have it, President Wentz. Does anybody from the committee have anything to bring forward?
No, but I do want to mention that I am talking with one of the business owners in the 4th District, and they are working with one of the police officers. It's not in, nothing has been laid in stone, but what they're trying to do is a buyback program with the guns. So when I get further information of what's happening, I will inform the mayor and the administration and everybody who needs to know, and see how we can move forward with that. But that is something that one of the business owners had approached me about, was a buyback program with the guns.
Thank you, Danielle. I know myself and Matt spoke the other day, and Laura, about the parking of trucks and vehicles. We'll have a meeting next week and talk about that, and bring CAO and the mayor and the police officers into that meeting. That's on the schedule next week. Anybody from council have anything to bring forward? Go ahead, Tom.
I'm concerned and interested to know if we have any solid information about the shooting in the 69th Street area that was reported just last evening, I think, on the news. I don't know anything about it really, but I wondered if we have any information.
Yeah, sure. So it's an active investigation, and our detectives are working on it. What we know at this point is it seems to have been a personal dispute, and it seems as though shots were fired, but thankfully no one was hit. And yeah, the police are investigating, but I think some of the reports and sort of rumors that got out, of course, as is always the case in these things, weren't quite accurate. So I do think the police department put out a statement on their Facebook, essentially saying that it was a personal dispute and shots were fired into the air, and no one was hit, and their investigation is ongoing to find the shooter.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I heard about it was on 6 ABC.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. That was part of the reason that the police department put out the statement. Absolutely. Yep.
Sadiq, did you have a question? Yeah, Sadiq.
Good evening, everyone. As we know that Westchester Pike is very busy, very busy all the time, day, morning, evening, weekday, weekends. There's a intersection of Court Avenue and Westchester Pike. There's a 2 auto body shop over there. One is Modern Autocrafter. I'm watching like a long time that they are having their truck, the tow truck, their damaged vehicle all over the place, holding the parking spot. It's fallen on 4th District. And
it's actually the 5th District.
5th District?
Yep.
Okay. I was thinking it's 4. So this is very dangerous for the motorist. Evening and morning rush hour, traffic get long. And as I observed many things, but today it's happened. They like 3-4 of the damaged vehicle. They're taking our parking meter spot and putting the car anywhere, and without any signal, without any flagman, they're blocking the whole street to drop up and pick up the damaged vehicle in there. So I really want the council person over there, and especially at large, can look at that one and then talk with the business owner to better way. Any vehicle, damaged vehicle, has to be in their property, not in the street.
So unfortunately, There's no space. So when the tow trucks pull up in front of their business, there's no space in their driveway for the tow truck to go into their driveway because their driveway's up on a hill, at least from what I've seen. And they pull up along they take up to one of the two lanes. There's a light right there that when you go to turn and make the left-hand turn, you end up having to make sure you get into the fast lane because in the slow lane is a truck delivering damaged vehicles to that business. So yes, I do agree. It's a concern. And maybe it's a matter of having officers check it out as far as because the parking scenario. And if they are parking their damaged vehicles in meter spots, well, then they have to pay the meter. They can't park there for free. So, but Councilman Gwynn will definitely check it out for sure.
Sure, thank you.
All right.
Thank
That's
you,
all I
Cynthia.
have
Thank
for
you, President.
public safety.
Thank you,
Councilman
President.
Burke.
Go ahead, Avis.
Thank you, Chairman Burke. I just wanted to say in reference to Councilman Wagner's comments, I think as the Public Safety Committee, we need to meet if we can meet on ways that we can work with the administration to increase various communication channels. I believe that we have this notion that it's just ask and get an answer when we need to start bringing solutions to the table also. So I would have just asked Chairman and the Chairwoman if we can add something like that to an agenda item where we as the committee, we can provide our solutions to the administration or things that we see. Because if we're not bringing anything to the table, it's just not really an effective meeting, So with the recent events, that's some things as a committee we should be looking at.
Thank you, Councilman. Absolutely, yes.
Sure, Councilman Tunis. We can talk about that Monday or Tuesday when we set up a scheduled meeting. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you for that input.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilwoman Phillips has her hand up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Burke. So can you just go back to say that you were meeting with CAO and the mayor to talk about parking of trucks?
No, well, I said we were going to schedule a meeting with the Public Safety Committee next week, since we had a short week, and we would get back to the CAO and mayor about one of the items that we've been talking about is about parking of trucks and commercial vehicles.
Okay.
And I spoke to Councilman Silva yesterday, and that was something on the agenda that I'd like to get next week since we had a short week.
Okay. All right. I was asking because
I know it's one of your concerns.
Yeah.
That's why we're going to try to meet, but we had a short week.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Gwynn, go ahead. I'll get to you, Sadiq.
Yeah. Basically, in response to what Sadiq was saying, I believe that that's a responsibility for the police department to enforce the parking restrictions there, that the vehicles that are parked on the street have to be movable. They have to be under their own will. If not, then it should be in their lot. But that's up to the police department to enforce. It's not up to us as council. We've drafted the legislation and it's there.
Thanks, Bob. Sadiq, go ahead.
I just want to add that the commercial trucks and vehicle, I have one issue with Emerson and Long Lane, and I think Matt Silva and who else was with us regarding the trucks and the commercial vehicle, the parking on Long Lane and Emerson and behind the house. This morning, this noon, I observed that it's still there. Have 2-3 trucks over there. Look like a resting place. All the old truck and everything. I think when you discuss this one, keep this one in mind. And also one more thing. Couple of my neighbors, they in my area where I live, around 69th Street. I don't want to mention the street name. They at nighttime they are parking the car on the curb on the sidewalk, nighttime. And I have the picture and we talk about it. It's nothing happening, going nowhere. Even you
submit
have a
it?
parking, even have a parking somewhere, still that car parked on the curb on top of
All the time, all the
and
time.
this is the thing
All the time.
happening. I think I already informed the police department. I talked with Miss Patty to do. She said that she will send the community police over there. I don't know if she sent it or not, but still happening.
So,
Did you submit it?
sorry, Councilman Siddiq, are you taking pictures of it and then emailing it to the request line?
Actually, to request line, I don't give the picture, but I talk with
I
them.
need you to take a picture and email the photo to the request line. Please CC me on those emails, okay? So we can help track it. But that way they have a visual image. You got to send them the street intersection or what block of, 100, 200, block of the specific street and send it to the request line. And this is for every single council person. Every single resident, you see something that's funky that you don't think is right, take a photo of it and send it to the request line, request@upperdarby.org. Okay, and if you have council members' email addresses, please CC us. We'll happily follow through with checking in on it as well. But ideally, if we all send all this information to the request line, they can solve the problem before the next council meeting, or at least make an effort to adjust it accordingly. So please take a photo and email it to the request line. Okay?
All right, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Wentz. Go ahead. Councilwoman Phillips?
Yeah, Councilman Burke and Council President Wentz, I just going to piggyback on what Councilman Siddiq said. And sorry, I was there where he's talking about, and I did take pictures and every single angle, and I sent it into the request line. And you're absolutely right, they're going to follow up about it, but because they're parking there like it's a parking spot.
Right. So where you were talking about was a not a residential, but in a business district where they're parking along the building of the business on a super wide sidewalk. There are other locations where in residential where people are pulling up partially on the curb and so forth. And Miss Alexis sent me residents can put flower pots out to large flower pots to try and prevent people from parking there. Though granted, I think one of my neighbors have a broken flower pot that got run over by someone. So, but it's still there. And then you can also call the police to ticket if it's not during the normal work week, but taking photos and sending to the request line gives them a way to track where the problems are. Okay.
Thank you, President Wentz. Anybody else from council or the administration have anything to say? That ends the report for the Public Safety Committee. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Public Health and Environmental Affairs Committee, co-chairs Councilman Tunis Jr., Councilman Silva, members Phillips and Siddiq. I'm sorry, did you have for public safety?
For public safety.
Okay, sorry, go back.
I'm totally sorry about that. It's just, so I stumbled across this question and it may be best in the request line, which they do, they're very responsive. Nicole's awesome. But if you're in a, let's just say you're in an apartment building on Long Lane or Westchester Pike streets, similar to that, and you want to request a handicap spot. Since you don't have a house, or I mean, you have a home, but I'm saying you can't park it in front of your property. Well, like, is that something that we can accommodate, or is that something that's just a case by case and submit? It's a common question I've gotten a couple of times.
DOA, can you answer that?
Honestly, it's a really good question that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head. I will absolutely research it and get back to you, unless one of the solicitors or someone actually has an answer, but it's interesting that it hasn't come up before, because you would think it would come up pretty often. So it's a good question. I'm happy to look into it.
Councilman Gwynn, go ahead. Thanks, Vince.
Sure.
My experience has been that you have to have the ability to have a parking space on that side of the street that you're talking about. If you do not have capacity to have parking there, it's no parking on this side of the street, then you can't get a handicap space on that side of the street. That was the rule previously. I'm not saying that people can't reinterpret the rules now, but that's the way they had looked at it before, because I had situations of that nature.
Okay, thanks, Bob. We'll look into that next week and put that into a formal question to the solicitors and the township building.
All right, thanks, thanks, Chairman.
Thanks, Hafiz.
Great. Okay.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I just have a question about the handicap spot in the parking. So I just want to make sure I'm clear, because I'm not understanding. So if people live on a certain block, Westchester Pike, Long Lane, or whatever, and if there's no parking there, people are asking, can they put up a parking poles for a handicap?
No, that's not what they're asking. They're just
No,
asking.
I'm asking, just have to be clear.
No, the question I'm getting is, can they get a handicap parking spot? They didn't ask for a specific area. They're just saying based on where they're located at, if they can get a handicap parking spot. And it dawned upon me, like, the current rules, because, I mean, you can ask Alexis and Carrot. I'm always asking about handicap parking spots, but this one was just something I just had to ask real quick. It was kind of confusing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
The general rule of thumb is you have to have a handicap license plate in order to apply for a handicap spot. Even when you do apply, it doesn't mean that it's your personal handicap spot. It means anyone with a handicap license plate or placard can end up parking there. So for apartment complexes that have actual driveways and parking spots for their apartment building are required to have handicap spots within that parking lot. But there are some apartment buildings that don't necessarily have a formalized parking lot, and therefore all the residents have street parking. And I think the question is more towards, how do the people who live inside an apartment building that doesn't have a parking lot with automatic handicap spots in it get a handicap spot? But if there is no parking on one side, the same side of the street as the apartment building is, then they can't, right? But we do have to clarify that because of the apartment building, I don't know if people have applied for spots for those living in apartment buildings. So that's.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the chairman and CAO will try to best to get us the best answer we can get, and then maybe then we can inform the public.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Once again, that concludes our report.
Great. All right. So moving on. Public Health and Environmental Affairs Committee, Councilman Tunis and Silva are co-chairs, members Phillips and Siddiq are members. And then we have the introduction of ordinance number 3097. Can Solicitor Richardson give us a brief on this ordinance so that we can have our conversation on it before the formal first reading?
Thank you, President Wentz. This is Ordinance 3097, an ordinance of Upper Darby Township amending Chapter 222, Animals of the Upper Darby Township Code, to add a new Article 5 entitled Domesticated Chickens, allowing residents of Upper Darby Township to keep no more than 4 female chickens, requiring residents to obtain a permit in order to keep said chickens, imposing certain regulations and requirement for keeping chickens, and imposing penalties for violations of such regulations. Whereas the Township Council adopted Ordinance 2843 on October 2nd, 1996, codified at Chapter 222-28 at Sec of the Upper Darby Code, which regulates the maintenance, keeping, raising, and housing of certain domestic and wild or semi-wild animals in order to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of the inhabitants of Upper Darby Township. Chickens were listed as domestic animals, which were defined as any bird or fowl or lagomorph mammal or any animal or bovine, sheep, goat, pig, or poultry, or any wild or semi-wild animal held in captivity. Whereas Township Council desires to provide specific provisions pertaining to keeping chickens in the township, Council desires to permit residents of the township to keep no more than 4 female chickens for purposes of supporting a local sustainable food system by providing affordable, nutritious source of protein through fresh eggs. Now, therefore, is hereby ordained and enacted by the Upper Darby Township Council as follows. Section 1, domesticated chickens. There's a new article added entitled Domesticated Chickens. There are definitions in Section 2, more specifically chicken run, which is defined as a wire enclosure connected to a hen house for the purpose of allowing chickens to leave the hen house while remaining in the enclosed predator-safe environment. Also, hen house, it's a structure for the sheltering of female chickens. An existing shed or garage can be used for this purpose if it meets the standards contained in this Article 5, including the required distance for property lines. 3 provides the purpose. 4 provides that there is a permit required. There are fees, which are initial fee of $60 and renewal fee of $25. Section 6 provides the number and type of chickens allowed, which is 4, only female chickens allowed. There's a specific prohibition against male chickens or roosters, which also may be removed by Township Animal Control Officer. There are requirements for the keeping of domestic chickens, providing that chickens are not allowed to run at large on any public land, including but not limited to sidewalk, streets, roads, alleys, parks, or any other person's private property. Chickens must be maintained in a fully enclosed shelter with a covered fence enclosure. There's also language about composting, that is unlawful to spread or deposit any ground or premises on any ground or premises within the township chicken manure. Section 9 provides that permits are required, that there's approval, and then there's also denial or suspension or revocation of a permit, and then also the appeal process. And then Section 10 provides penalties and enforcement. There is a repealer clause, severability clause, and that the ordinance shall be effective immediately. So ends the reading.
Great, thank you. Councilman Silva, do you want to lead the discussion?
Certainly. Thank you, Council President. Do we need to make a motion to advertise before the discussion, or?
No, we are discussing the ordinance itself as a committee before we do the motion to advertise and introduce. Because otherwise the motion is only to discuss the advertisement itself, but not the ordinance.
Okay.
So this is just the committee part of the discussion of the ordinance before we do the formal start of the process of passing the ordinance.
Well, all right. Well, let me start by saying I'd like to thank the residents that have requested this, and I'd like to thank the members of council that had shared their input to help make this a better ordinance than I think what was previously put out. I mean, it's important to weigh out the concerns of people that want to raise chickens, have domestic chickens on their property in the township, but also to weigh the concerns of people who may not want to do that. So I feel like this is a much better ordinance than what was previously sent out, and I appreciate the input from my council members who helped make that happen. Does anyone else have anything about this ordinance that they'd like to?
So no. Sadiq, Brian, or Councilman Burke, and Tunis are the hands I saw.
Okay, Councilman Sadiq.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Silber. we don't say anything about the rooster. For hen will be there. Then
No roosters.
what will happen in the rooster? Rooster, we can include the rooster too.
No, we cannot. Hold on. It's on here, and I believe she did say it in the brief. Section 6, Part B, only female chickens are allowed. There is no restriction on chicken species. Male chickens or roosters may be removed by a township animal control officer. So yeah, that is covered. And the main issue with that is the noise, because roosters are loud. So.
Okay, and we don't see anything about the winter time, if how they cannot be stay in cold weather. They has to happen in inside or isolate place, so it will not affect with the cold snowy time.
That is a great question.
There is a section regarding hen houses, which is in section 2. It's an existing shed or garage can be used for that purpose. And I'm assuming that's specifically for inclement weather.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we also had Councilman Burke, Councilman Tunis, Ms. Phillips, sorry, Councilwoman Phillips, Blackwell, and Gwynn. So Burke,
Okay.
or sorry,
you.
Matt.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, certainly. Yeah, Councilman Burke.
Thanks, Matt. Just like to bring attention, this has been up a couple times. I know you guys have changed it, worked on it. The only question I have, Matt, is, and to the solicitors, where do the residents get a master chicken keeper certificate? I don't see that in there. Or is that was something that would go township-wide, statewide, or, you know, is that something that we have to check on? It says number 3, provide a copy of a master chicken keeper's certificate before you apply for to have chickens.
Correct. So Penn State has a distance program where the master chicken keeper certificate can be obtained. And there's a few places, I believe Penn State is pretty much the premier to do the master chicken keeper, but I do know there might be a few around, but that would be part of the permitting process, is that they would have to obtain that on their own. But I believe Penn State is a go-to.
So can we at least add Penn State, that we're going to accredit Penn State as one of our certificate places before our inspectors go out to even inspect the property? Because they'll have to have that before they apply for it, correct?
They would do that as part of the permitting process.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you're submitting the permits, that's one of the documentation they would have to provide.
Okay, thank you. That's all. Thanks for the work, committee.
All right. Thanks, Councilman Burke, and thanks for your previous input too. Councilman Tunis.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Silva. I know like the committee and Councilman Silva has worked extremely hard on this. I just wanted to ask if you could inform the public on some of the the additions or changes you added since we last met.
From the previous like attempts, I guess, to put forth this ordinance.
Yeah, mainly the ones that were from input for council, just so the public's aware.
Sure, and yeah, like the primary change is that we're basically that we've established a size for a hen house. So hen houses are no longer any size, like they have to be a set size at least. So they have to be 2 foot by 2 foot. And this provides a humane environment for the chickens. This also, you know, it kind of sets a standard. The other item is that the hen houses must be in a backyard. They cannot be in a front yard. And again, that's part of the whole weighing, you know, people's desire to own a chicken versus other people living in a neighborhood. Like they have a right to not have, you know, chickens in their front yard, which I certainly appreciate. That is the primary differences. And also believe there's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's an item about not keeping the chicken inside except for like in a garage or any, you know, to make sure again that people don't keep chickens inside. Otherwise, this is basic. This is a lot of the ordinance that we had talked about before and we're setting forth. So, but I think it's all in all, I think it's a good ordinance, and I you know, hope everybody you know agrees. So, does that cover everything?
Yeah, for the most
you
part.
believe, Councilman Tunis?
Yeah, I just do appreciate you taking in the considerations, especially some of the ones that we put forward as a committee.
And I certainly appreciate all the help we got from Solicitor Richardson too, who has been absolutely integral in this.
Thank you.
So we have,
I
think Matt froze on us. I was back.
So we have.
Oh, okay.
Do you have your list, Matt, of who's next?
I believe it's Councilman Gwynn.
No,
Or is that correct?
no, you already answered the questions that I was going to ask.
Okay. Well, thank you.
We have Councilwoman Blackwell and Phillips.
Oh, okay. Councilwoman Blackwell.
Okay, this may have been answered, but I was just curious, are the chickens required to have vaccinations?
You mean like rabies?
Right, I'm just curious. And if so, or if not, what would happen if there was an outbreak or a plane, if they get sick or something happens? Do we have that in place if or maybe there's a protocol already established? I was just curious about that. Like,
So I do know Councilor Blackwell. I'm sorry, Councilor Silverville, may I respond?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, please do.
Sure. So Councilor Blackwell, from my understanding of the chicken certificate, it talks about that type of chicken health. So
okay.
that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that we do have, Upper Darby does boast 2 animal control officers. So, I mean, they've been doing it, I think, combined about 50 plus years. I'm not sure if they had any run-ins with chickens, but that would be the township entity that would be taking care of any problems that we had with the chickens if there was some type of problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell. And Councilwoman Phillips.
My questions were answered. Thank you.
So Councilman Silva, I'm sorry, after you and I had talked about the chicken ordinance, something came up from a resident and I think it's, I think it's covered in this ordinance, but I just want to verify. Apparently some residents may have live chickens with the intent to kill them and eat them. And I just want to verify that the intent of this ordinance is specifically to allow people to have chickens, to have eggs from chickens, but not for the intent to kill the chicken and then eat the chicken. And I just wanted to make sure if we needed to put add something into the ordinance to clarify the intent. So, Solicitor Richardson, do you feel that the way the ordinance is written, that it protects the chickens for the purpose of eggs only?
So, Council President Wentz, in my research, none of the chicken ordinances that I've seen in the Commonwealth actually deal with that type of issue. It does seem that it's just for the purpose of eggs, but that issue has not been covered in anything that I've read in terms of my research and preparing the ordinance. So I honestly don't have an answer for you.
Okay, so then maybe we want to cover it with a different ordinance on the clarification of other.
I think that would probably be best because I mean, we're adding this as an addition to our animals section. So I asked her if that offhand, I can't remember if chapter 222 would cover that aspect of fowl, which is.
Okay. And actually, I've heard of it pertaining to not just chickens. There are other animals that are used in that fashion. So we might want to look to cover in a different, or updating our ordinance to put in protections.
Like a form of animal cruelty, like legislation, or something to that effect.
Animal cruelty is covered by the Commonwealth, so that's out of the township's purview.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, just, I guess we'll look into that with Public Health Committee. Councilman Wagner, you had a question?
I do, thank you. Matt, I appreciate the fact that your committee did a lot of work on this, and I wondered if any concern came to your attention, or did you discuss it all? The rights of adjoining property owners who don't want farm animals being raised next door to them. And coupled with that, I have to ask, why is it we're encouraging this? And maybe there's just something I'm not aware of or that I'm missing, but why are we encouraging people to raise farm animals in Upper Darby?
I don't think we're encouraging it necessarily. I just think we're like allowing it. I mean, there's not some sort of incentive or something that we're offering for that. As far as adjoining, do you mean like twins?
I mean, anybody nearby who doesn't want chickens being raised in the next yard next to them or behind them or near them, because this is not a farm community. I wonder if that came up. I mean, did you discuss that at all? Was that a concern that was raised?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Solicitor Richardson, but but yeah, there's a discussion about, like distances from property lines and that kind of thing. I mean, that certainly, we're trying to establish like the location of the coops, the size of the coops, to determine that, they're not going to be like adjacent to people's yards. I mean, we do respect that, but we're just.
I mean, it just occurs to me that yards in Drexel Hill and much of Upper Darby, if not all of Upper Darby, tend to be pretty small. So I can easily envision people complaining about it. And I wonder what provision has been made for that. Is there a process that an adjoining or nearby property owner has available to him or her if they are opposed to that condition being next door to them?
I mean, I certainly can understand that. I just feel as though like we've established it so that there's guidelines that have to be adhered to as far as distance from yards and that kind of thing. So it's not like people are on top of each other with chickens. And I mean, some yards may be too small to basically fit under the provisions, or if people only have a front yard, then they would certainly not be able to do this. I don't know. I mean, you're right. I mean, there are yards that are small, but we all live together. I'm not 100% sure what we can do. I don't know if my next door neighbor likes playing the radio or working on his car or something. Do you know what I mean? I'm just not sure to what level do we limit people so we never upset anyone.
Well, I don't know if that's an answer to it. I'm just asking whether this subject came up and was examined.
Yeah,
that's what I was asking about.
Yeah, to answer Councilman Wagner's question, those are some things that I brought up on the committee, right? Like, I'm in the 7th district. A lot of the homes in my district, as much as they may want to, or I would love for them to, they just may not be able to do something like this. That's why we do have these provisions of size and where you can put them in. Also, I want to use the word encouraging. I mean, I would say being proactive, listening to people and hearing what they bring forward. Because the questions you ask are the same questions I've asked on the committee. And also, a lot of these people that are going to be applying for this have to take steps to get to even the point before they come to the township, right? They need a master chicken keeper certificate, right? That's a process you have to go through. And I do think that the concerns you do bring up are warranted, because I did bring them up in the committee. Solicitor Richardson, I would ask if, through your experience, if you know of any additions or anything that people may have used on the subject of what Councilman Wagner just brought up.
So from my understanding, and that's a great point, some townships or municipalities decide to put it through as a zoning regulation, so we'll have to go through zoning approval. So that's something that council, if they wanted to allow it, but then also provide some additional parameters, that could be done.
So you're essentially saying we could put it in, add a zoning addition to it, so that residents have to go through that process also?
So I would suggest that it would go to the zoning committee within council to have that discussion, if that's what you were, if that was the pleasure of council.
And I don't want to comment, but some places do make, to address Councilor Wagner's point on the notification issue of chickens, they make sure they require that there be zoning approval to do so. So therefore, the neighbors who had an existing property, someone wants to come in and put chickens, they make them go to the zoning hearing board. Of course, that's costly, right? So that's a policy decision from council. Do you want to do that or not? So.
Thank you.
So I also see Councilman Bonnet and Phillips have their hands raised, and Sadiq.
Certainly. Yes, Councilman Bonnet.
Thank you for acknowledging me. I too share Councilman Wagner's concern about perhaps it might be appropriate that we give due consideration to an adjacent neighbor. And even perhaps whether we do it through the zoning hearing board or actually make it a specific requirement in the ordinance itself that it can only be accommodated on a residential property with permission of an adjacent neighbor. In most cases, it would be two adjacent neighbors. I think that would be fair. I do believe, I have to believe that it's going to have an impact on a neighbor's value, real estate value, particularly if they're in the process of selling their property and their neighbor has a chicken coop. In addition to that, we mentioned Penn State as being an authority earlier on as far as giving accreditation for or a certificate for maintaining these facilities. Penn State also publishes requirements for setbacks. Their requirement is specifically that in an urban area, and I think we could classify ourselves urban in many ways, that a minimum setback from a property line is 25 feet. That is impossible to meet in many of our properties. I probably on my own property, if you wind up building a chicken facility, a coop and a run, or a hen house as we define it in our proposed ordinance with a run, that it has a certain width. And when you subtract that a certain width from the actual width of a property, you can't achieve 25 feet. So I think we have an obligation to at least observe, recognize authorities and their standards that they promote. Also, this ordinance as it's proposed, it does say that a resident would have to comply with our zoning requirements. And I imagine that includes setbacks. But if you look at our zoning, and I think I didn't research this specifically for tonight, but I do believe I'm correct in this interpretation. You can put a shed on your property right up against your property line. So I suppose that it would be interpreted that you could put a chicken coop right up against your property line and be consistent with the requirements of our zoning ordinance. But again, I said I have not researched that point specifically, but I think I'm correct. So I do think that there's some problems that should be identified and addressed in this. I do think that we need to give consideration to adjacencies in terms of neighbors. And I do think that it'd be appropriate to require that if one wants to have a chicken coop in their backyard, that they do so after having gotten explicit permission to do it from their adjacent neighbors. And in many cases, this would be two sides and a rear neighbor.
Okay, the next person is Councilwoman Phillips and Councilman.
I'm just
Sorry,
not
go
sure
ahead.
what precedent I
Getting it.
You froze, Councilman Silver.
hello.
Councilman Silva.
You froze.
Okay, let's move. I'm going to text Matt, Councilman Silva, to let him know he froze. Here we go.
So he had to log off, probably had to log
Okay.
back in again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yep.
So I just have a couple of questions. I mean, everybody brought up some valid points about the ordinance, and the committee did work hard on it, and we asked those questions. So, and I get it, maybe wanting to ask your neighbors, and I think it is in there about getting requirements from the zoning hearing board. So my question is, I have a problem with chickens, and I like animals, but would this also set a precedent for if my neighbor wants to get a big dog and I have an issue with dogs? That's just my question.
Yeah, I have to agree with Councilwoman Phillips here. I just don't know what the precedent is for doing something on your own property requiring the permission of your immediate neighbors. I mean, perhaps I'm mistaken on that, but I just, for an allowed use, then it's, I'm just not aware of such a thing. So like, yeah, I mean, and again, dogs are a great example. A lot of residents have dogs. Dogs are loud. Dogs can be,
Dogs can be loud, and I'm just trying to play, as they say, devil's advocate here, because I think this ordinance, if someone wants to get chickens and they have a hen house and they have to go through the zoning board, I think they probably will go through all the proper protocols to make sure the chickens are being housed properly, and they will follow the rules. At least I hope so anyway. At least I hope so. But I can see where it may be a problem for my neighbor if I have 4 chickens, but it might not be, because, I might say, hey, do you want some eggs? I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out in my head, because I think this ordinance is written pretty well. And I think we probably can add the other things, maybe to make it more clear about the zoning and Penn State, if it has to go back to committee. Just my 2 cents.
Well, I would hesitate on specifying Penn State, because what if at some point in time they stop their program, then the ordinance has to change. So if we saying the chicken master certificate means you have to find the appropriate schooling, anyone who would provide that certificate, go through the training, get certified. Penn State is one that has been referenced, but what if they stop that program? Then we're stuck because they're noted in our ordinance.
It would be something like a chicken master program accredited by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That would be part of the permitting.
Yeah,
process.
yeah, and that way the individual can find it on their own and just say that it's something that not only is required, but I don't know if we can use the word mandatory. I don't know.
It is required.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a permit without the certificate.
Right. So you know, maybe that's something that could be done. But I mean, I just brought it up because, you know, I don't have an issue with animals or anything like that, you know, but I've seen some people with huge dogs, you know, and I walk to the other side of the street, you know, that's just me. I mean, I'm sure it's not just me, but I'm just saying I can only speak for me. So I'm just saying, I might be comparing animals to animals, but it could be I don't know what kind of precedent it will be setting, because someone want to say, well, now I can't have my dog. I have to ask my neighbor, can I have a big dog? I mean, I'm just saying, because I know how people think. So some people may say that. That's just my observation.
Okay. So we have Councilman Siddiq, Wagner, and then Tunis in our roles.
Okay, Councilman Siddiq.
Regarding the if someone to raise a baby chicken, how we can prevent there? This instead of they eat the egg, they raise a chicken, the chickens. How are we going to prevent there?
There are no male chickens involved.
Male chickens are rooster, Councilor Siddiq.
I mean, they I guess would obtain a baby chicken, but they can't breed chickens because there'd be no rooster.
Right.
I mean, were they to take a chicken from a chick, I guess, a chicken infancy, I guess they would raise that chicken until it's like a, you know, when it's an egg bearing age. I mean, that's on them, but it's not, you know, that would be an option.
Yeah, the other way I can say, let's say I have a poor chicken, you know, but from somewhere I get some baby chicken and they raise them up. And of course, my concern regarding some of our community people, they eat the chicken. They love the live chicken. The other community people, they love the live chicken. If they raise up that one and they kill it and they eat it.
So we're gonna deal with that part through a different ordinance.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm done with that. This is my concern. Let's see how it works.
So then we have, go ahead.
And I'll be the first one to apply for the license and all this thing, have the chicken, because I stay with the chicken in my young life, so.
I'm sorry, Laura, who was?
So you have Councilman Wagner next and then Tunis.
Okay, Councilman Wagner.
Thank you. Just briefly, to the point raised by our friend, Councilwoman Phillips, we're not talking about dogs and cats here. Those are domestic animals. Chickens, to my knowledge anyway, which is admittedly very limited, are farm animals. And when you talk about the danger of setting a precedent, I think the dangerous precedent runs in exactly the opposite direction. If we're a township that allows people to raise chickens, what do you say to the person who comes along next and says, I want to raise pigs, or I want to raise cows or horses on my property? That's a slippery slope. I think this just needs a little more study, and that is not a suggestion that the committee didn't do a good job. On the contrary, I think you did a great job of looking into this. I think a couple of other aspects of it now, like the zoning aspect in particular, needs to be studied. And so I would suggest that we refer it to the zoning, to our zoning committee, and let them consider the zoning implications of it and go from there. That's just a suggestion. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your concerns. It is something that we did consider, and two, I mean, to the point, you know, Lansdowne Borough has actually a less restrictive ordinance than we do. Haverford Township has a less restrictive ordinance than the ordinance was put in place, and there was an ordinance that everyone can live with, because we didn't want to have it. We didn't want to have it be like a free for all. I mean, I can certainly understand your concerns, but at the same time, too, we're talking about 4 chickens. When we pass this ordinance, I don't believe people are going to become, instant farmers. I think it's more of a hobby type of thing when you're dealing with that number of chickens. But I do appreciate your concerns and thank you for bringing them up.
And Councilman, sorry.
Oh, no, I was
Councilman Tunis is
going to
next.
ask you. Oh, yes, Councilman Tunis.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, everyone brought up a lot of valid points, and we've been on quite this topic for a great amount of time. I would just say we do have to remember it's Councilman Silva said it's 4 chickens. Understand some of the points of it becoming a slippery slope, but just remember it's like when we decriminalized marijuana, we didn't start decriminalizing other things, right? It's not just always going to just be rolling. We're just going to keep pushing the envelope. Thing is, we should be optimistic, understand people in our community do want this. There's some that don't, but I, for the most part, have heard a lot of people that have asked these questions to make our township a little bit more unique and their living experience. So we have a diverse community, many people from different cultures. They bring a lot of things with them. And some people it's very customary to have chickens, like Sadiq said. And they're moving in our township, they're bringing different changes. And these are some things that can help us connect with people in our community also.
Great, thank you. I also want to clarify, Councilman Silva, you were floating in and out. I just want to verify that Lansdowne and Haverford do have chicken ordinances already in place in the township and borough. So it's not an unusual thing. We're just making it a possibility for our residents too.
Yeah, it's my understanding that media does as well. I mean, this isn't some, it's not like limited to agricultural farming communities, and then it's raising chickens as a hobby. You're not going to start a Mount Air plant on 4 chickens. Like, that's not really how that's going to work. So so this is just, more of a hobby thing that people are interested in doing. So, but yeah, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what's the preference of the committee? Would the committee like to move this forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this can move forward. Solicitor Richardson did a great job on it.
And Councilman Sadiq.
Councilman Sadiq, do you feel comfortable with moving this ordinance forward?
Yeah, move forward, please.
Okay, so at this point in time, can we get a motion to advertise and introduce ordinance number 3097?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I second it.
And Phillips. Any questions or concerns on the advertisement or introduction of this ordinance?
I do, Council President Wentz. So just want to make sure it's going to be advertised next week.
It'll be advertised for within the proper timing so that we can vote on it on at our next meeting, which is
26th, I think.
16th.
16th. Oh, when am I going to?
Yeah. Because that was last week.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So, okay. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the ordinance gets advertised in its, I guess, its current entirety, or would it just be the title and the kind of like the brief at the top of the ordinance?
I believe it's the brief,
Okay,
as all ordinances are advertised. And that for a public comment, so it also talks about our council meeting, how to, that there will be a public hearing on the 16th. It's the caption only that is put on the advertisement. And then how to register for public comment for the public hearing itself. All of that is put into the advertisement for the meeting on the 16th. Yeah. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Can we get a roll call vote, Ms. Phillips, on this? Just crossing our T's, dotting our I's.
Yes. Counselor Tunis,
Yes.
Counselor Phillips is a yes. Counselor Silva,
Yes.
Counselor Blackwell,
Yes.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Sadiq,
Yes.
Counselor Faralia,
No.
Counselor Barnett,
No.
Counselor Wagner,
No.
and Council President Wentz.
Yes.
Eight yes and 3 no's.
Okay. The motion passes. So this will move on to the agenda for the 16th, and it will be duly advertised. And Solicitor Richardson, are you cool with what you did for the official first reading? Was there anything you wanted to add?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we didn't change anything, so it's great. Just wanted to make sure, covering all of our bases. Okay, great. So then, Councilman Silva and Tunis, did you want to continue your Public Health Committee report?
Absolutely. Do any members of the Health and Environmental Affairs Committee have anything to bring forth at this time?
I was gonna say if we could work with council president once, as well as the administration. If we can just put together a list of or resources. I think the administration did do this. I believe they did do this, but if we could keep sharing places where you can get vaccinated in the township, so we can get as many people in our township that wants to be vaccinated as possible.
Okay. Vaccination sites. Okay. All right, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the administration put out a list, but if we could, as council members and the township council page, which probably reshared it, the administration did it. So, but I just want to echo it.
Yeah, I've shared some of the recent ones, but they weren't. If we could get a collection of all the spots in Upper Darby that are vaccinations. I know the mosque has been. I believe the mosque was doing a vaccine, or 69th Street is doing every Thursday is a vaccination site in the lobby of the 69th Street. The mosque has done some at certain times, but if we can get a list, that would be awesome. Then it would be an easy way to share that for the entire township. Whether or not we can get a full list, I don't know if we can do it, but we can at least get a bunch of them on it. So
yeah, and we can put together a list.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a question for the CAO, do they have to, is there like a special permit or something that a vaccination site has to apply for? Or, I mean, is there, do they have to inform the township when they set one up?
CAO?
Well, it depends what you mean. Like there are certain places, pharmacies, right, that have been getting direct vaccine allocations and distributing, and other qualified nonprofits. So I guess the short answer is the short answer is No, I mean, really only if it's on township property, would that come into play in terms of permitting?
Okay, yeah, because I've noticed that there's like, there's been a lot of like pop-up sites or like where they use an old storefront. There's one I know in Clifton Heights where people can just walk in whenever and get vaccinated. I just didn't know if there was any kind of, if they had to request for permission to do that, or if there's any way that the township may already have a list, I guess would be my question.
I don't think we have a comprehensive list, but we have been doing our best to amplify and promote the sites that we're aware of. And we've been trying to encourage and facilitate on township property. I mean, in terms of if people are requesting it, expediting processes and waiving permit fees and things. But for example, I mean, we don't have a list of even every pharmacy that is doing vaccines. So some of it is dependent on whether the organization doing the event is letting us know. And at that point, we're doing our best to amplify it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I see Councilman Gwynn and Siddiq.
Oh, Councilman Gwynn.
Yes, as a suggestion, using the mayor's request line to register if people are not ambulatory to get to a site, but would like to get the shot might be a good idea. So that we can then set up something and try to work with the vaccine administrators to get them that injection.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a reasonable enough idea, although community transit is really the county nonprofit tasked with that kind of transportation issue. I mean, we would be very hard pressed to create that kind of sort of ride sharing or people moving operation. But certainly coordination or referral to community transit and other resources, I think would make sense. Yeah.
I could have sworn I just seen like there's a nurse group or something that, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, that they go to people's homes to vaccinate them directly too in that same kind of instance. So yeah, but yeah, that would be good to get that information, I guess, out as much as possible as well. I mean, I just feel like we're in such a different place than we were a few short months ago when it was almost impossible to get the vaccine. But now it seems like it's very widely available. But it would be good to make sure people know all the avenues that are available to them to get it.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I mean, any member of council or any member of the public who is part of an organization or part of a vaccine clinic and wants, again, help amplifying or promoting that kind of event, they should absolutely contact the township and let us know and give us the information, and we'll do our best. And again, like for an example, I mean, there's one this weekend at the Beverly Hills rec area, and we waived the permit fees and are doing everything we can to facilitate that one, again, because it's on township property. So and we did the same thing. There was one, I think the organization was called Nurses Fighting COVID. They did a couple of events at the Garrettford Firehouse. And we worked with those folks and worked to help promote the event, but only because we were contacted about it. We were brought into the loop and asked to do that. So, yeah, we did.
Thank you.
Okay. Was there anything else, Councilman Gwynn?
No, otherwise, if you want a list of companies that are doing it, you've got Acme, you've got Rite Aid, you've got CVS. A lot of stores are facilitating that.
A lot of pharmacies are. So So definitely check your local pharmacy to see if they are providing vaccines. Because there are some pharmacies that are, smaller shops that might also be providing it that aren't the big pharmacy stores.
Pepper's Pharmacy.
Yeah. So definitely check with your local pharmacy, start there, and then work your way up. And the county, I believe, has some listings on their Facebook page, but I think there's some stuff also on their website in reference to locations for vaccinations.
And the county has on their website about the homebound COVID shots. They have the phone number on there and the email, and people can sign up there if they're homebound, or if you know your neighbor is homebound, and if you want to sign your neighbor up, because I did my neighbor.
Nice.
Great. Okay, and then Councilman Siddiq has also had his hand up.
Oh,
thank you, President Wins. Yes, since we are in vaccine business, so I would like to announce that this Friday, our mosque is having the vaccine from 2 to 5 or 6 p.m. With coordination of Delaware County and our mosque. Walk-ins welcome, no need to registration, 12 plus, 12 and over ages. Anybody can come and get the shot. This Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. or maybe 7 p.m. as long as we have the people coming for the vaccine. I'm going to announce it again for the new business. So this is for now.
Thank you, Councilman Siddiq.
And this is our 5th vaccine clinic in the mosque.
Great, thank you. I don't see, or is there anyone else? I don't see any other hands.
Well, then, I believe that concludes our report. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome, thank you. So next up, we have Law and Government and Rules and Procedures Committee, Co-Chairs Phillips and Silva, members Siddiq and Blackwell.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. Anyone from the committee have anything to discuss? Anyone from council?
So I did send you I drew a blank on the ordinance I sent you, or the concept of an ordinance that I sent you.
Is that Medicare for all?
Yes. Oh, the resolution. Yes. Well, that was for public health. Was Medicare for all? I'm sorry. And then there was something that I sent for law and government, and I'm drawing a blank.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
It was.
I know what you're talking about.
But whatever it was, if you guys could have a meeting, and because my brain just fried, to discuss it.
Are you talking about the ordinance that the county council just passed?
Yes, that's the one. Yes.
Yeah, it's an end to an era of soft corruption.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep. I knew it was there. I just couldn't put my finger on it. Yes. Okay, cool.
We can meet to discuss that. I can send something out to the committee and we can set something up to discuss that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from council? Seeing none, that concludes our report. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And then next up, we have the Finance and Appropriations Committee, Co-Chairs Gwynn Jr. and Silva, members Blackwell and Burke.
Good evening. Does anybody from committee have anything to present to this body?
That's an error on the agenda. It's it has the co-chairs, the members. You have it. It's twice. It's not a big
It's
deal.
listed twice.
Yeah, I'm
It's
just
the
not in the
zoning,
committee.
the zoning is the next one.
Yeah, I just didn't want the record.
So we're at, but I read Blackwell and Burke for Finance Committee, correct?
She got it
No,
right.
you read Blackwell.
Yeah, that's
for
correct.
Junior. That's why I said that. But we can move on.
Appropriations,
No, I thought he said. I thought
Quinn
she said
and
Blackwell.
Silva are co-chairs, and Blackwell and Burke
and Burke.
are members, and the zoning committee, the co-chairs and members got placed in twice by accident. So we're on finance. Thank you for catching that, Councilman Tunis. Go ahead, Councilman.
Does anybody from the committee have anything for this group? Mr. Burke?
Yes, thanks, Bob. We spoke the last meeting about some kind of an update on our capital budget purchases for, I know it's early on, but maybe a list of what we're buying or how far we're into the capital budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I mean, I obviously wasn't able to attend the last meeting, so I did not, I don't have that prepared, but I can tell you, in terms of the capital budget that was presented to council and approved by council, we have not had any significant variation from the plan in that proposal. As far as how far into it we are, it really varies tremendously by department. In the vast majority of cases, we've pulled purchase orders and maybe made commitments, but not yet dispersed significant amounts of the funding. And I think, so if I had to sort of give a really rough guess, maybe we're 15 or 20% of the way into the first allocation. But I'll have to go back and really get you a more precise answer. But again, the plan that was circulated with the items listed, there hasn't been any significant material variation from that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's plenty. Just an update of purchase orders, like you said, but nothing really spent money. Just actually making commitments to buy things. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I was looking for.
Okay, sure. And I mean, a lot of public works equipment, police vehicles. We just got specs for fire apparatus. So again, the things in the plan are moving forward, which is great. I mean, I think the administration and the employees are all pretty excited about that.
Thanks for that update.
Sure.
That's all, Bob.
Anybody else have anything? I have one question that kind of relates to this. We'll have to start to think about next year's budget soon, and we should start to organize our groups to see where we're going to plan to put this money that we're going to need for next year and what it's going to be. The other item I think that's important is to understand where some of the expenditures are going. I know the mayor has desired to move ahead with her center. I'd like to know if you have any updates on that.
I'm sorry, move ahead with
the
community center.
Community center.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we put out an RFP to bid the design work on the full building, and we have those bids back, and they are under consideration. So we do plan to move forward with the selection of an architect to work off of the feasibility study that we did to fully engineer and design the whole facility. Part of that process will be more public engagement and more input from council and the public at large about exactly what that design should be. And we've also put in for additional funding to the federal government, both the surface transportation funding as well as, I forget what they're calling it now, something community investment funding, 2 different funding streams from the federal government that we've worked with Congresswoman Scanlon's office to put in applications for. So yeah, we're kind of full steam ahead on all fronts, pursuing funding, getting public input, and RFPing for vendors. One thing that we haven't yet done is RFPing for the site work that we already have the $1 million RCAP for, but that will come as we get closer to putting a shovel in the ground.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from council have anything for this committee at this time?
Yes, I actually had a question. As I know that there was a list of all the townships and so forth that were getting fund reimbursements for COVID. Have we gotten any of the 40+ million that they indicated for Upper Darby?
Yeah, so really sort of interesting and frustrating to watch this whole process develop. We actually did just today receive word from the state government that applications are now open to receive those funds. And right, that is the exactly appropriate facial expression for the word application. So Upper Darby is what they refer to as a metropolitan city community or something, essentially meaning that we are going to get our funding directly from the U.S. Department of the Treasury, as opposed to having to go through the Department of Community and Economic Development at the state. So we just got this information earlier this afternoon, and we've been encouraged to turn around the application in the next 5 days. We've had really good support and outreach from both Congresswoman Scanlon's office and Senator Carney's office. They've both been very proactive about reaching out to offer us help in making sure we secure the money. So the shorter answer is no, we have not gotten any of the money yet. And the longer answer is we just got some information about the process today, and we're going to be working on it full steam ahead tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Is there going to be a need for council to sign off on anything on the application process? Or are you guys all good?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to thoroughly review the application, so I don't know exactly what is required. I mean, my understanding was that the money was already allocated to us, so the application was a little bit surprising in itself. But believe me, we will let you know right away.
So is it only 5 days to fill them out, or it just opened and we have more than 5 days to fill it out?
I think we technically have 30 days. I think the 5 days was something that the senator's office was just strongly encouraging. Hey,
to get as soon as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you do need council approval on anything, then we can do it on the 16th.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Okay.
I was going to ask if we would need the assistance of Sean Kilkenny, since he would probably see the same thing at other governmental sites too.
Sure. I know I sent out an email to all. Doesn't apply to Upper Darby, but it got an email from, we belong to the Boroughs Association and PSATs, They sent us an email. I emailed it out to all our managers saying, hey, you see this today? And every manager responded, yes, we're on it. So I think it's pretty widely known in the municipal management world. But the question is, it's interesting because you'd gotten that guidance from Congresswoman Scanlon and Senator Kearney. Norristown, which is also a direct allocation from federal government, they were told by Dean's office they didn't have to apply through this process. So that's interesting. So
Well, that's very interesting.
I guess there's confusion out there. So
Well, that's kind of a big difference.
Yeah.
Applying.
I don't know. Yeah,
I would rather apply and get it than not apply and not get it.
Mr. Rangiano, CEO, when you mentioned that, I just sent the Norristown manager an email. I go, you better double check. So
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Because I think we have to go straight to Treasury. We don't have to go.
That was
through
my
DC.
understanding, and that's what Congresswoman Dean's office told Crandall Jones, the manager of Norristown.
Right. Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll
would
see.
hate for us to not apply and then not get it because we didn't apply.
Yeah. That's why I sent it to Manager Jones, because
Yeah.
I'm sure Norristown will feel the same way.
Apply to both.
Yeah.
Apply to both.
Exactly. Yep.
See who pays. Okay, anybody else from council have anything for us? Seeing none, hearing none, moving on.
Great. So next up, if you move to your second page, Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee, co-chairs Gwynn Jr. And Phillips, members Bonnet and Tunis Jr.
Okay, anybody from committee have anything for this body?
I believe you guys are working on putting together a zoning board meeting sometime this week or next week. So
yeah, they were still working on that. We should have updates after. That's why I just didn't say anything.
Okay.
We have anything to update the public on.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that you guys are working on putting a meeting together. That's all.
Yes. Yes.
Anybody else from council? Anybody else from the administration? Seeing none, I do have one question. How do various locations stand in terms of moving ahead with the projects that were scheduled for them under COVID? I know we're waiting. Last I heard, we're still waiting on Drexel Line for their permits for the state. Is that still the status there?
Yeah. So, I mean, Drexel Line, it has moved through the township process, but they have additional processes with DEP at the state. They had a process with the Darby Creek Sewer Authority. So they're still working through all of their all of their processes. But you know, from the township's perspective, on track and ready to go. I mean, I think the developer had hoped to have a shovel in the ground already, but I know that they did do their RFP for the initial work, and I know they got back 3 bids. And so they're in their own internal process of evaluating those bids and selecting a contractor and moving forward at the Drexel Line Shopping Center. And any other sort of specific, projects, I hopefully could give you the same kind of detail if, yeah.
I just want to say real quickly, I know it's hard to differentiate. Like, we might tend to think that like all the projects that go on in the township are township projects, but they're not. Like the community center that's a township project. Drexel Line, it's a private project. So, and Drexel Line has a creek running through the middle of it. It's bordered by Darby Creek, and it's a tough place to develop, and they have to answer a lot of questions. So I would like to thank council for voting in favor of the land development plan, the very important step in the process. But right now it's out of our hands because of the sensitivity of that space, and the developer is doing the best they can to move the whole project through the process. But it's a process, you know, it's a flood zone. We're all, I think, pretty familiar with the different intricacies associated with the area and the longstanding, you know, back and forth about it. But I do want to thank council for approving land development and getting it, like, I think, and maybe CAO Rangioni could add to this, but I think that the township has done what we can do at this point, and it's sort of out of our hands. But we're waiting, right? I'm waiting for good results, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
What are the
Thank
other
you.
projects?
Thank you for that clarification, Mayor Kemper. I think that is a really good point to make because sometimes people get confused. So thank you. Councilman Gwynn?
One of the other projects that was slated to start a long time ago, but I think has been kind of held off by COVID is the parking garage in 69th Street. I imagine they're looking to get some money either from the state or from the federal government to move ahead there too. But I have a feeling that some of these things are going to happen all at once, and everybody's, you know, things are going to break loose. I just wondered if you have any sense as to what's happening there.
No, I mean, that's interesting that you brought that up. I mean, I think the garage at 69th Street has been actually like a 30-year project that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And we are in discussions with SEPTA. And I mean, I think CAO Rangioni, you can speak to this in more detail and more, you know, what would you say? Just more clearly and, you know, in a nice way that I can.
Yes.
It's still going over. It's still going on, but go ahead.
Yeah, so SEPTA has had to rethink and revamp their entire strategy with regard to parking in general. So at the Seeking SEPTA stop, they were also planning an expansion and that there was a land development plan for and so on. But partially because of funding issues and partially because they're not sure if they are going to need as much parking as they needed in the past. They've actually put an internal hold on parking expansions of any kind, including the one at Seeking. In terms of 69th Street, it's a little bit different because there's the potential for that project to be so much more than a parking garage. There's the potential for that project to be a real genuinely mixed use, exciting development. And so the mayor's right. I mean, we are in continued conversations with SEPTA about the possibility of moving a mixed use project forward at 69th Street that includes a parking component. But yeah, in terms of the original parking garage idea, that one is sort of, I don't want to say on the shelf because they're very much still active conversations, but they're active conversations about how we create a dynamic mixed use project at 69th Street. And SEPTA is also pursuing a comprehensive plan for the 69th Street terminal, which may or may not slow them down on any projects. I mean, we've been encouraging them, hey, listen, doing a comprehensive plan of your 69th Street facility is long overdue. You should have had a comprehensive plan for that station a long time ago. But so it's not that we're against that, but we are against slowing down progress in favor of just creating plans for plans' sake.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I just would like to say that the word I was looking for as it pertains to CAO Rangione was eloquent. Eloquent, okay. That's it in a nutshell. We are still going forward with our plan for Market Street around Powell. That's going forward. That's sort of related to, you know, the parking garage. These things all, it just takes so much longer than you could ever imagine them taking, in so many conversations and meetings. We're working really hard to get stuff done, really visible stuff, you know, above ground stuff for you know, for our residents, for the people that work here and that have businesses here. Like, we're working really hard. So
yeah, I think
for your question, and you know, nothing's a done deal for 69th Street parking garage right now, but it's in the works.
Actually, thank you very much, Mayor. A resident reached out to Councilman Siddiq and I today in reference to the Market Street and Powell Road project. So thank you for clarifying that it is still in motion. That's really important. I know it's taken a long time for it to happen, and I greatly appreciate your effort to make it come true, along with council passing what needed to pass so that it could move forward. So thank you very much.
Is there anything else from the regular council? Sadiq?
Yeah, I have 2 points. One is previous administration, we approved that 2 residential hotel. One is in Drexelbrook, another one is next to our township building. Any update about that one? And also, since we talk about SEPTA has a huge multi-million-dollar project on east side of the current station, close to the Melbourne over there. It's a huge project. If they complete that one, it will benefit our township, many businesses and the residents and all these things. Any update about that one?
Mayor?
Councilman Siddiq, what was the first thing that you mentioned? The
residential hotel, motel.
Oh, so in 2017, the council approved the land development plan for a Days Inn or whatever across from the township building at the Minerva Court apartments. They have not made any movement towards that. So I think it's up to them to actually move forward, and they might be, so it's a plan. Councilman Bennett, you would know about the land development plans. How long are they good for? 5 years, 4 years, something like that, right? It was 2017 in November, December, the council approved it. And so it's coming up, right?
Yes, they're good for 5 years per the MPC, but there might be some COVID extensions thrown in.
Okay. I do know that nobody has submitted permits to actually do the work for that. So I think it might have been an idea that a group had or a company had to do that, and they just got the approval, right, from the township or from council, and then they're just they're not able to move forward for whatever reason. But 5 years, so it might be done this time next year, I guess. Expired. I mean, this time next year.
Okay.
The second question is update anything about the SEPTA's multi-million-dollar project.
Yeah, no, actually, Councilman Siddiq, I have no idea what you're talking about. We're working with them on the garage or the use of that space.
Yeah, garage is different. The other side. This is coming towards Melbourne with the borderline Melbourne and Upper Darby. There's a huge parking lot over there, and that they want to break it and make a plan. So I don't know. No. I want to know if the township know anything about it.
I think isn't that the parking garage and the multi-use process that she just described to us about that they're working on with SEPTA?
No, that's not the project. I'm talking the project with the Melbourne side.
Oh,
But Milburn's responsible for
No,
Milburn's
this
side.
is Upper Derby area. That's Upper Derby parking lot. This is.
CAO, do you know what he's talking about?
I don't. I'm sorry.
So are you talking about a SEPTA parking lot that's on the Upper Darby side before Milburn?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Right, that's the parking garage site.
That the mayor just talked about the mixed use possibility that they're working on. And CAO spoke about it.
That is the project we're talking about. They're going to make like a plant tree and all this thing, beautification, all this stuff. That is that side, that one?
Yes, that was the original parking garage plan before COVID with the previous administration, and then COVID hit and everything changed. And now they're in negotiations and conversations with our administration, and Mayor Keffer and CEO Raggioni just talked about all the things they're talking about possibly a mixed use purpose instead of just a parking garage with trees.
I think I'm talking different project. Let me find out more details about it, and then I can go from there.
Okay, great.
Sadiq?
Yes.
I know that there was a project that was going on for the cleaning of linens and things like that for one of the hospital groups that was going on in Melbourne. Is that what you're referring to?
No. Melbourne, they have in there, who used to be old Sears, they are having their children hospital, branch of children hospital, the building over there. I'm talking about next to that, in border between Melbourne and Upper Derby. There is a parking lot over there. And a couple years before, if I don't make a mistake, that they have a project, they want to rebuild that area for SEPTA, more bus accommodation, different routes from there.
So from the end of SEPTA's property, which is in Upper Darby, then at the urgent care CVS, I believe, is the beginning of Milbourne. Milbourne goes all the way to, on that side of Market to Philadelphia, to the creek, is all Milbourne's property, not Upper Darby property. Upper Darby is on the other side of the street.
Before urgent care, the fence is the borderline. That is the SEPTA.
That's SEPTA property.
Yeah, that's right. There should be a big project over there.
That is what we've already discussed. That is exactly the parking garage plan that has been changed and has not, and we just, that's what we've already discussed. That's what the mayor and CEO has already talked about.
Okay, that is the project. Then I have different thinking, different views. Okay. We'll talk about later.
Great, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I thank you. I think that we've kicked that one enough.
So are you complete on zoning committee?
I am completed.
Great. So next up, we have Municipal Services, Licensing and Public Works Committee, co-chairs Sadiq and Tunis Jr., and members are Wagner and Burke.
Take
it away, gentlemen.
I'm going to send an email out just about some things we have. Just to finish up Resolution 0421. Are there any questions from the committee? Councilman Burke, Sadiq, or Councilman Wagner? Seeing none, are there any questions from council? Okay, gentlemen, just check your email this week. Thank you, President Wentz.
Great. So next up, we have Leisure Services Committee, co-chairs Tunis Jr. and Silva, and members Faralia and Blackwell.
I'll take it again. Does anyone from the Leisure Service Committee have any questions or concerns? Okay, is anyone from council? No. I do know, I don't know if it fits under leisure, but just want to echo what the mayor said about some seasonal employment. Just go on upperdarby.org / employment opportunities, and you can find that information there.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So next up, we have the Event Planning Committee, co-chairs Phillips and Blackwell, members Tunis Jr. and Silva.
I yield my time to Councilwoman Blackwell.
Okay, so we're going to piggyback on the mayor's initiative, Clean Up Upper Darby. What we would like to work on from our committee is an initiative to buy in Upper Darby, spend in Upper Darby, eat in Upper Darby, dine in Upper Darby. So that's the next initiative that the Events Planning Committee is working on. So we want to get more people. COVID is going to be over now, so we want people to spend their money here in Upper Darby, go out to restaurants in Upper Darby, and we would like to encourage all council members to work with us to get that done. Are there any questions from anyone in the committee? Yes, Councilman Tunis.
I was just going to ask you if you could just recap the job fair.
Yeah. You guys had an awesome job fair. You should talk about it.
Yes, so we had about, we had spectacular vendors. We had about maybe, I think it was about maybe 32 participants. I'm not sure if folks already had jobs or folks that need jobs, or it just was the timing, whatever it was, or maybe they had, rumor has it that unemployment had come into effect, but we are going to do it again in October. I believe the date is the first week in October. We're going to set a date to get that out. But it was very positive. A lot of vendors got a chance to exchange information amongst each other. We got a chance to meet other vendors. It did expand. It was very positive and encouraging and motivating for our residents. So we're going to definitely do it again. And if any of the council, if you have any vendors or any particular folks who have jobs or anybody who's looking for jobs, we want to make sure that Upper Darby folks are gainfully employed. And I guess our next theme would be is we're going to shoot for $15 an hour and above. We don't want our folks making lower wage jobs. That's what we want to do, is make sure that folks have a living wage.
Well, most of the jobs that were being offered were at least $15 an hour or more.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you for adding that.
So I actually have one thing to add to you. I spoke with a gentleman that I want to connect you guys with, who have done community type days events, which provides a watch day for single mothers. And so he basically occupies a laundromat, pays for the day for mothers to come and be able to do their laundry, but then also have exhibitors, vendors, exhibitors providing services for those individuals that are going there. So I just wanted to let you know that I was in conversations with him, and I will share that information with you all so that you guys can reach out to him, because I think it's a great idea. They did one in Yaden and is interested in doing one in Upper Darby. I think we have some great spaces that would be very helpful. So just wanted to put that out there.
Great, thank you. That appears beneficial to Upper Darby single parents.
Yep.
Well, the mothers.
Yep.
Or fathers.
Yep.
I just want to piggyback on what Councilor Blackwell was saying about our next event for the job fair. Since our COVID numbers are declining, we are hoping to hold it outdoors. And we are hoping that, we are anticipating that the vendors that show up will do on the spot interviewing. So when we line up the dates and confirm the outdoor place, we will make sure that we get it out, and we want you to come and dress to impress, because you're going to get that job. It may be the job that you never knew you always wanted. So come and get that job. So it's going to be in October, but we will definitely keep you posted, and we're going to saturate Upper Darby with that information.
Are there any more questions from any members? Yes, Councilor.
I was wondering if you have any information as to some of the other things going on. Juneteenth is one I can think of, the multicultural things. What activity is planned, or do you want to share information about?
So the events committee itself is not planning anything specifically for those for Juneteenth, because there are other organizations that are planning it. So we can, there have been other, so you're not on Facebook, Councilman Gwynn. Unfortunately, a lot of this information's on Facebook, and we share it with our council page. So, but I know that, yeah. Sorry. I'll try and get a list together by the end of the meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions for any?
Don?
Yes, Councilman Bonnet. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Excuse me. Juneteenth was just mentioned, and I think it'd be appropriate to mention that the JACE and tailor-made vets, and the JACE is an acronym for Juneteenth Artistic Collaborative Experience, excuse me, is having their second annual event at the Delaware County, the Delaware County Veterans Memorial in Newtown Square at between 9 and 1 p.m. on June 19th. And I think one thing about Juneteenth is, and I can speak for myself, that it was something that I was not aware of until maybe 4 or 5, perhaps 6 years ago, when Richard Bly brought that to the attention of Township Council. And he must be given a great deal of credit for bringing that, making us aware of the importance of that, which is the celebration of the end of slavery. And very important to many people in our Upper Darby community. So I attended the one last year. It was an amazing event out at the memorial, and they will do the same thing again this year. So I encourage many people. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend because I do have another commitment out of town, but I would recommend highly to everyone to find a way to spend some time out there.
Absolutely. It seems like a wonderful event. Thank you, Mr. Bonnet.
There's also an event at Upper Darby High School, I believe. I'm working on finding it.
Okay. Are there any more questions or concerns to bring up for the Events Planning Committee? All right. So at this time, I'm going to close the meeting.
Or close the committee report?
Exactly.
Okay. Great.
Either way there, Council President.
We're almost there, but yeah.
All right.
So solicitors are next.
As far as the solicitor's report goes, obviously, we're working on the chicken ordinance. I know council's making great progress on the fee schedule, and Ms. Richardson, I know, is working on that. Hopefully we can bring that to fruition soon. That really concludes our report. Working on many routine matters daily. Ms. Richardson deals with right to know requests, mainly being peppered by former Mayor Makosi, sending them often on a weekly, daily basis almost all of which are denied by the Office of Open Records. So that concludes our solicitor's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next up we have old business. Anyone have any old business? Councilman Bonnet, is your hand raised from previously, or you have old business to bring up?
That's previous. I'll take that down.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I see Councilwoman Phillips.
Thank you, Council President. So, excuse me, just, is there any follow-up about the home RFP for the homeless cafe?
I don't have a specific update except to say that I know we've been working, as you know, to try to get folks to respond to the county's RFP. And I have not heard from the county recently on that process, but I'm happy to reach out and check in and provide a report at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so the, I'll wait for new business. All right, and then new business? Anyone? Yep, I see, hold on. I see Blackwell, Siddiq. Anyone else? All right, so we'll start with Blackwell. Go ahead.
So for the residents of St. Lawrence, Cedar Avenue, and Parkview, the mayor sent out that we're having an outdoor socially distanced meeting on Monday, June 7th at 6:30 p.m. And the purpose of the meeting is to discuss, our engineer is going to be there, and it's about the proposed turnabout, or well, excuse me, roundabout, and other traffic calming measures in the area. So if you can make that meeting, it will be a question and answer as well. If you're unable to make the meeting, please be advised to call 610-734-7625 or email the mayor at upperdarby.org. Okay.
Could you repeat that? The time?
The time,
p.m.
6:30 p.m.
Okay. Siddiq?
And it's going to be meeting at Parkview, St. Lawrence, and Cedar Converge, where it meets up at.
Okay.
We've also sent out notices on the doors for people who are not on social media.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Siddiq?
Yeah, I have two quick announcements. Number one is the Cardington Field regarding building an elementary school. We are having the field meeting, physical meeting on June 7th, 4 p.m. Asking all the residents to participate in this meeting so we can talk about with the Upper Darby School District and its administration.
You said June 7th?
Monday, June 7th, 4 p.m. And we are having the vaccine clinic from Pfizer, 12 and up, this Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. at Masjid Al Madina in our mosque, 69th and Walnut. All the residents are invited. We have not done vaccine yet. Please come. This is another opportunity to get the vaccine, especially young kids, 12 and up. This Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. at mosque. That's all I have.
Great. And then, so there's a Juneteenth event on 6/19 at Upper Darby High School from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Being organized through Forum Philly and Dr. Malcolm Bird. And so, so that is also happening in the township. And then also, we have, of course, when I want to find things quickly, I'm not finding it. We also have the Pride Festival event on, sorry, I have it. Of course, it's not showing up right at my fingertips. Sorry. So there's 2 events for Pride in Upper Darby on tomorrow night, July 1st at 2312 at 8 p.m. There's an event happening there. And then
Is that July 1st or June 1st?
sorry, July 1st, you're correct. So it's not tomorrow. It's yes, July 1st.
Laura, Sunday, June 27th, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Upper Darby High School. Is that what
Yes,
you're
that's the
looking
one I'm looking for. Yes, thank you.
got it.
Yep, the 27th. Thank you. Yep, that was the one I was looking for. All right, and Councilman Tunis?
Yeah, I just wanted to announce that State Representative Margot L. Davidson will be having a veterans drive-through breakfast on June 10th at 10 a.m. in Berkeley Square Shopping Center. And all veterans can just stop by and get some veteran resources as well as the breakfast.
Great, thank you. Okay, anyone else for new business? All right, seeing none. Can we get one more motion? And that, before we leave, I just wanted to thank Chief Sawyer for joining us this evening for our council meeting. We greatly appreciate you being here. So I just
Thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome. We're always happy to see you. And then, do you have anything you want to add for us, Chief Sawyer?
I do not. Thanks for asking.
Okay, great. So then one more motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Quinn and Sadiq. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. We're adjourning at 9:18. Wow, good job.